One. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of On the Mic with Mike. I am your host, Mike Larkin, and joining me today is the one, the only Sessions wrestler, Ms. Haze. Ms. Haze, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. First and foremost, it's a pleasure and a privilege to have you on the show. I've been checking out your work, checking out your overall background. I got to say, I like what I see, and you're a very talented competitor.
Thank you. I do. I have a lot of odd experience, professionally and then personally. So I honestly didn't realize a lot of this was going on until the last couple years, and it just snowballed into something awesome. So.
Well, I think that's what's great about you is because we could tell from your professionalism and everything that goes into it. I think you have that overall cadence, you have that overall appeal to you that people can resonate and generate with you, and that's served you well for many years.
Yeah, it is. It's very nice. I have a lot of sales background also, so the sales ship and all the customer service, like the overall communicating with all of the clients and everyone that's interested in the industry is it's definitely, it needs to be handled very delicately, um, foremost before you even meet with everyone, and I definitely feel like that's been a very interesting part of it.
I think what's great about us as human beings is we all have our, uniqueness. We have our all of our preferences. What's very cool about it too is like you mentioned, like you have to deal with it so delicately. I think for the clientele, you have to have that experience, not go too rough with them, but also have that competitiveness to it, which is also very fun because, like I mentioned, it's different, it's unique, and for someone who's new to it, you get to have a fun experience with someone like yourself and all the professionals that go into it. So you're correct, and you got to take it deliberately, but delicately. But it's like, god dang, man, you're in for a hell of a time, even over.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's really nice to be able to offer something that it almost appear like I appear very dainty, and you definitely want to talk to everyone and communicate very delicately from the get-go, because a lot of times a lot of the people they're not looking for something harsh from the first interaction. So it's almost like you have to figure out all the details before you actually jump into whatever tone or persona that they're kind of seeking.
Of course, and I look at it from a stance like first and foremost, I believe you've been doing the dominatrix stuff since '06. And I'm going to say this because here's what's funny about this particular time period. So, as a young man going into my teenage years, I have to say, like, the first time, and this is my pop culture nerdiness coming out, like, the first time I ever heard about the dominatrix thing, and this is where the wrestling fans will agree with me on this. There's a tag team called the Basham Brothers in the WWE, and their manager was Shaniqua. It was very more like a BDSM type of dominatrix type of feel to it. Their finishing move as a tag team was called the ball and gag. Swear to God, no joke. It was called the ball and gag. And then also you look at MTV, they had a little documentary called, The Life of a Dominatrix, and it would talk about on True Life, just what it's like from the Dom feel. And I got to say, it's very interesting and it gives a lot of info on the world. So I got to say, learning about that from that time period is very interesting and also what equates to what we see in the real life day and life of a dominatrix. So I got to ask you, how did you get into that field? Because you do a lot of great work in that field as well with your clientele and everything that goes and encompasses your overall appeal. How did that come into fruition?
um well, so it honestly, all my background was, I was, let's see, I was very competitive in sports, very coordinated. So I was always doing competitive sports. While I was doing competitive sports, I was doing competitive weightlifting. Competitive weightlifting transitioned into boxing, and then boxing turned into MMA, and then MMA turned into armed bodyguard work, and then security for nightclubs and bouncing, and it just spiraled into this whole physical job that is just in demand as far as women are concerned, especially in those male dominated industries. It's very easy to be a woman if you're coordinated enough, to be able to jump into something like that, and it really resonate well. So I honestly, I accidentally fell into it. I was asked to do it, and I just kind of kept saying yes to all these weird opportunities, and it turned into it turned into something fun. I took a break when I had my daughter, from all the really physical physically demanding jobs, and then everything took off just recently again when I started doing sessions a couple years ago, and it just I don't know, it's really fun. It's really fun to be able to change and be a different person for an hour for someone, and be able to give that safe environment to that person who is seeking it, and be able to facilitate that to the degree that they are wanting, and intensifying the experience so that it's fun for both of you.
Oh, 100%. Foremost, God bless to the front of your daughter, because children are a blessing. So much love to you on that front. But god dang, man, you're talking about just being that person for hour or whatever time it is. I think that's also very cool, because you also put on something that also segues. What's great about it too is it's you, but with the volume turned up. You get to be that character, be that persona for that person. That really goes a long way for people too as well, because for the clientele, you never know what they're going through. You're making someone's day. So I also appreciate that aspect as well,
Yeah.
because again, it's you, but it's you with the volume turned up.
Right. Well, and it's one of those things where, I mean, they're looking for an escape. They're looking for, they're looking for something intense that I want to confidently be able to offer. So communication from the beginning is so important, because I want to know that I can do it. So I need all the details. So the more details you get, the better, and I guess more sure I can be, and they can be, as far as their expectation goes, with the experience. So it does blossom into something if we communicate to the point where we get all the details. But it's really interesting how different everyone is, and everyone's wants and needs and preferences are so different that it's so fun to be able to do it over and over and over and create something unique and crazy for every individual that you meet. It's a job that does not get boring.
Oh, and I think that's what's great about it too, is I also look at it from a stance of, like, you're talking about, like, it's a weird experience, but I also, it's like you fall into a lot of great stuff. And also, I'm going to say this from the male point of view. Sometimes you need a little good ass kicking, you know what I'm saying? But I also look at it from a stance. You have all this background from, like, we're going to get into boxing and every form of combative nature
Yeah.
here, but that helps goes into it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. All of the sports and coordination and stuff. Because I mean, most of the men that session, or just people in general, they want that overwhelming feeling, and it is a very physical, demanding uh, position to be in, and you have to be really confident and delicate how you handle yourself, but you still have to be that intense and overwhelming and overstimulating, and just kind of driving and leading the session with everything that you do. And it takes a lot. It takes a lot to get to that point to where you can be that confident in sessions, so that you are giving that experience that they're seeking.
And I think what I also like about you too is because you talk about the weightlifting part. I mean, you're talking about powerlifting, everything that goes into, like, fitness and overall the work regimen. I think what's great about it as well, because there's so many different forms with sessions as well, like body worship and just overall worshiping of the women, that the work of art that they are. There's something just about just that overall, just the fitness, that aspect, that beauty of that woman that really goes into it as well. Also sets the appeal, and also just for the overall experience as well, because you have this appealing, beautiful woman. You're about the session with her, and it's one of those things where it's just like, god dang, man, like, you're encompassing a whole lot from the work of art standpoint as well, because I'm a firm believer in beauty, strength, and dominance. So it's one of those things where you encompass the beauty aspect as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is. It's one of those things where everyone is attracted to so many different things, and there is a fine femininity that it needs to be there. I think in order to really feel, that good about sessioning with someone, there it needs to encompass all of those things collectively, and balance to some degree, in order for everyone to be happy with what's going on, and how it goes down. And there's a lot of power in that position, and it's hard to hold someone's attention for that long. But if you are confident enough and you're able to command a room, regardless of whether it's full of people or if it's just one person, um, it's it's one of those things that you get better at with time, especially once you talk with the person that you're with, or the client, or session professional or whatever, and you get a good understanding of what their motivations are and why they're there, because everyone comes for different reasons. The domination is obviously the main thing, but everyone is wanting to be dominated in different ways, and so it's such a delicate thing to be able to stay feminine and yet be dominating in the same aspect. And I don't know, it's very tricky, but I'm surprised that there are so many women that have the same attributes as I have, that are taking the industry and running with it and absolutely just destroying it all over. It just is so much fun.
Oh, and I also look at it because I look at it from a stance. Look at the key part in the sessions. Wrestling. I mean, you look at from the old days in like the late 1800s, early 1900s. You have that catch as catch can style. And what's very cool about it too is because you mentioned the dominating part, and this is where I get to it. Like there's head scissors, there's body scissors. There's a lot of that encompasses the physicality of what we see in sessions wrestling, because there's just something again with the appeal factor tying and correlating here. There's just something about a woman body scissor or head scissoring you around your body. That's just it's that feeling. So I mean, all like yourself and many of the women in the session wrestling industry, you ladies have that forefront, have that platform to do it. And what's great about it is because for those that aren't aware, we get to be aware of it, and it's something that may be for somebody, may not be, but either way, you ladies have that platform. You get to showcase yourselves, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah, it is. It's a very interesting excuse me, it's a very interesting platform to be able to, because you have the freedom to kind of figure out what your preferences are and what your boundaries are, and you can set those accordingly. And it's one of those things where there is so much freedom in that. And I think I can speak for most of the women when I say we all feel very safe in being able to do that, and having that freedom to to be able to specify exactly what we want to do. And a lot of us hone in on our strengths, and we stay away from the stuff that we're obviously don't specialize in or whatever. But some of us actually kind of jump out of our comfort zone, and we do, you're exposed to so many different things and requests and stuff that a lot of it is fun to just try sometimes. If it's something new that you're not even sure you can do, if it's not too difficult or whatever, committing to doing new things or exposing yourself to new fetishes or offering new things is very good personally for all of us to experience as well. And it I think it broadens our horizon in our careers as well, as long as we keep doing that and we do it as we travel, because it ends up growing into other things, which is, I don't know, I can appreciate that a lot more, because you always want your job to change and transition into different things, and you can only do that if you're exposing yourself to different stuff as well as all the different atmospheres and things.
Of course, and I also have to say, because you segued beautifully here, I mean, you have to expand your horizons. I'll be honest with you. I look at it from a stance like I'm a guy who likes session wrestling, and there's some guys, I'm going to tell you something right now, who have been friends of mine that think like, oh, why do you like that? Some think it's weird, some think it's cool, but I also look at it from a stance like, get to expand your horizons, and I think it's very stimulant of the mind, and this is why I like it. I mean, to take it on a deeper level, because we get to expand our horizons as people. You get to know what we like and know what we not like, but it's also one of those things where you have to keep an open mind in really anything, you know what I'm saying? Don't just judge the book by its cover. Don't look at it from an external standpoint. Look at it from an internal standpoint, what the person likes, what, the stimulation factor. And it's one of those things where it could be a beautiful thing at the end of the day, because also it's very spiritual, it's very eye-opening, and it really gives one as a chance to showcase themselves and what they like, what they don't like. But like we've reiterated before, but it's like, it's very cool if you look at it from a spiritual and eye-opening standpoint.
It is. It's one of those things where it is deeper than most people assume that it is, and it either makes sense to you or it doesn't. And I feel like there are a lot of people that if it resonates with you, it's something that you almost can't get enough of. You just, you almost want more of it, and then you end up, getting into other things. And it actually, I feel like it's it stimulates and it intrigues you more into different things. Like I feel like you can be attracted to one thing and then that spirals into something else and you didn't even realize you enjoyed this, that, and the other. If someone does end up doing something in session sporadically or improvish, I guess I should say, during the session, because there have been a lot of times where you do have to kind of go back and forth in the session with creating this roller coaster ride of overstimulating and overwhelming and distracting, and it's just there needs to be so many pulls, and I guess you need to keep them guessing constantly. So if anything, it's so powerful afterwards to talk about the session in general, that whole come down of being dominated and actually going through the whole submission process, and then the aftercare and just discussing everything afterwards and making sure that that it was as fulfilling as they said it was, or they need a moment to kind of collect themselves because they're just like, oh my gosh, I'm on cloud nine kind of thing. Because the knockouts, I feel like, are very powerful. A lot of people really enjoy those, and I get more and more requests for those because of my background. So there's this extreme what do I say, levels that everyone requests, and it almost, I don't want to say it taps out at a certain point, but people like me who have a background in neutralizing people very easily, very quickly, I feel like we get the opportunity to kind of push those boundaries further and further with each session, because we do have experience in being able to do it professionally and safely. And so that exposure gets people to push their boundaries as well. And I don't know, I just think there's something really poetic about that. We all are able to find and create this environment where we can all play and be happy with everything that goes down. Like, I can facilitate all of the things that people are asking for, and they feel safe enough to ask for all of these things that they otherwise wouldn't feel comfortable asking for. So it ends up being a very deep, intimate moment that you end up sharing together, and it is really cool to be able to do stuff and complete requests that you normally don't get, the one-off really weird ones, or the really pain-inflicted ones, or the high pain threshold requests, or the choke outs or knockouts, or like anything that levels up in a sense. I feel like is an opportunity for that person and you to bond over this weird experience that both of you are tickled to go through.
Hey, I mean, when you got yourself who's like a knockout queen and a submission machine, man, some chokes, maybe some kicks, maybe some punches, it makes for a physical, but it's a good time all in all,
Good time, an exhausting time.
Exhausting time, yes. Okay, now since
At
you
the very least exhausting.
I have to ask you, because you were talking about like the pain threshold and some of the sessions, and a lot of people that request, like, what's the most pain threshold request that you've had as far as being in sessions? What's the most one that really sticks out to you?
That I can I
Yeah,
have
you
a
could say,
couple.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
get requests to break ribs and dislocate shoulders, and um more or less that kind of stuff is usually what I I always laugh about, because I'm like, okay, are you sure? Okay, I'll sign here. But yeah, more or less that kind of stuff. I always laugh when people ask me to break their ribs, because I do enjoy those. Those are really fun. Whether it's with a scissor hold, or like an actual like body shot. Those are fun to be able to do, especially on on command. Are you ready? Okay, we're gonna wait for the very last, the last 10 minutes. Then guess what gets to happen? So yeah, I'd say those are usually the requests that I usually crack up about. That, or any of the beatdowns. The beatdowns are just they're really intense. So and it's one of those things where they always want you to be sure about doing it. And so I always tell them, I don't stop until your hour's up. So if you get knocked out, guess who's getting woken up? And we're continuing because I've got you for 30 more minutes, man. I don't know what to tell you. You're gonna have to suck it up. Those sessions are usually the most entertaining for me, just because I grew up not being able to go all the way with a lot of my training. Like, I mean, you do all this training, but you're not really asked on a regular basis to like use full force, like, you know, to really hurt somebody. So this job in general has been so fucking cool to be able to ask constantly, like, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? Are you capable of doing this? Like, it's more of a, it's intriguing for me because I want to do that. I want to know what I'm capable of doing. You want to know, like what can you do? Like, how strong are you? And you have these people that are like, yeah, I want you to do this. Can you do that? And I'm like, I'm pretty confident I can. And then lo and behold, yeah, you totally can. And it's for me, it's just I'm pushing my own boundaries with all of this as well. And physically and just with my experience in general, it's really fun to be able to do that in an environment where it is safe. We all are wanting it. They want to be dominated. I want to be dominating. So it's a cool atmosphere to be able to do it with, but overall, I would never be able to have the opportunity to do this. Like, even if I started doing armed bodyguard work again, like, I wouldn't be able to full force, do any of the things that I get asked to do on a regular basis. So, in that regard, I feel like this job resonates so well with everything in my life because the whole physical aspect of it keeps you in like insane condition. Like, I don't really have to work out as consistently as long as I'm booked. I'm beyond exhausted beyond exhausted most of the time because it is such a physical job. And it pushes you every day to do better things, be more creative, and in the most odd ways that no one would really think that you would have to be creative. And you're like, no, I actually have to do all kinds of stuff that people don't realize that you end up having to calculate or I don't want to say manipulate, but in that zone, when you are dominating someone, it is that you're toying with them, you're playing with their emotions, and you're trying to get them to guess and trust you, and then fearful of you, and like there's this whole roller coaster of emotions and transitions that you have to go through. That it's just it's way more. It's way more intense than most people think, and it's fascinating to be able to do on a regular basis, to say the least.
I gotta say, first and foremost, you're talking about not having to work out. First and foremost, Miss Hayes, you look absolutely fabulous. So let's just get that out of the way. You do, and I truly mean that with the utmost. You're welcome. I also look at it from a stance as well. I mean, the way you just described the overall pain threshold as well going into it with the breaking ribs. You're kind of like, if I was to make a video game reference, it's like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, just at the end, ripping out the Hadouken. That's what it is. It's Hadouken.
Sure. Yeah. No, it is. It's crazy. And it's everyone sessions for different reasons. You have people that session to lose control, and then you have people that are just pain based, and then you have people that need to be controlled, the slave aspect of it, where they need you to think for them. They need to be so busy with things and stressed out that they can lose themselves in this hour, and you can overwhelm them with that. Everyone is seeking that escape, and that domination from different angles, and they all have different motivations for what works for them and what doesn't. And it is so tricky to work on the fly, and improv a lot of it as you go, but it's very stimulating on a creative level for me to be able to do that on a regular basis, and get better at it. And you fine tune it to where when they give you specific categories or things that you're trying to do, it ends up it ends up intriguing you to think about specific things beforehand so that you're even more prepared, and then it goes in a different direction and you're actually perfectly fine with that because you have done it so many times, and you're able to think on your toes or on your feet, and and be able to to carry out the session that they're seeking, even if things do change in the middle and it starts going down a different road or whatever. I feel like that in itself, the creative aspect of trying to keep them guessing, regardless of what what the session is about, is the cool. I think that is the most intriguing part of the job. I don't know if the other ladies feel the same way. I just know that I get a lot out of that, being able to take someone's set of rules, preferences, and boundaries, and create a game, like a really, really hard game for an hour, and see if they can handle it. It's one of those things where I don't think I'd be able to do that with any other job right now.
I also look at it from a stance, and you so eloquently put that. I think what's amazing about what you guys, Lynn ladies, do, it's one of those things where you look at Jennifer Thomas and the Session Girls community, like the whole community, and I include you in this, is really just some of the best ladies. And I'm going to tell you something right now to the listeners. If you have not checked out Session Girls and look at Miss Haze over here, Jennifer Thomas, the whole nine, you have a nice crop of very talented, very unique competitors, and each and everyone has their own styles. And I think that's, again, to reiterate what I like about each and every one of you, including yourself. I think you guys make sessions worth having. So I had to give you most sincerity and respect on that front.
No, thank you. Yeah, it is, and it is. There are so many different ladies that offer so many different things, and all of our specialties are all different. So it's something cool that you can get on Session Girls and find something. Find all kinds of different things that sound very intriguing, to try or want to try, or even just to reach out and see if they are interested. And all of us travel so much that we do try to be in as many places as possible so that we can get the exposure that we're seeking, and our fans are seeking as well. And it's it's hard to do, and balance the travel, but I feel like all of us are getting better at it now that I feel like things are kind of, I don't want to say turned back on, but I mean hopefully they're, I don't know, everything kind of, as far as the pandemic and everything is concerned, I'm hoping that things open up a bit so a lot of us can get back out there and get back to business, because I think there are a lot of people that have cabin fever right now and they're dying. They're dying the session, and I feel their pain.
Well, you also so put it as well. It's like you. That's also the great part is you get to travel, which is awesome. But again, like the pandemic, and I feel the same way as you do. I'm hoping slowly we get that back there. I think it's going to take some time, but it's one of those things. Of course, but it's one of those things where
normal, anyways. But yeah.
Yes, you got to be optimistic, and I think your optimism shows. So I like it.
You kind of have to be. No, you definitely have to be. I mean, with everything that we do, it's. I mean, we're entrepreneurs. We're building our own businesses and our own livelihoods, and thinking on our feet, and trying to adapt constantly, like everyone is doing right now. And I am very hopeful. I feel like there's opportunity. There's always going to be opportunity. It's not always going to be easy, but it's always worth it, I think, for all of us. And even for the clients in general, like they need it, like they need it and they want it, otherwise it wouldn't exist. And that escape is more than an escape. It's the way that a lot of us cope with everyday stresses. And I know I can speak for everyone when I can say this last year has been extremely stressful and absolutely ridiculous. So I know that a lot of people are needing an outlet like this, to thrive and be able to get through the day and get through the month or year, or however they view it or value it. It's important and it's needed for us, the ladies, as well as the clientele, so we're needing that ass whooping for the week, needing needing to feel their their tush bruised and battered for the next couple weeks to remind themselves of how ornery they were, or how bad they need to be punished, or whatever they're seeking, whether it's the control or a lot of that holds it holds a lot of value. It holds a lot of depth with a lot of us, just getting through regular stuff. I don't know, I feel like most people need it to cope with stress, and we as facilitators need it to cope with stress also. And regardless of how all that goes down, it's definitely something that is not going to go away as far as being needed or wanted. It's just how can we keep it? How can we adapt to the times, and when the shift and all of this goes down? I feel like a lot of us end up doing the online stuff because it's easiest. I have a hard time doing the online stuff because I am such a face-to-face person. I value my face-to-face appointments. My one-on-ones are what I really, really enjoy, because I feel like I resonate best there, like there in front of you. That's when I can command better. And I feel more comfortable in that space. So when that's not, when that's taken away or limited, or there are restrictions on it, I feel like I lose motivation with a lot of it, because I do value that so much. And it is really important to me, those appointments versus, all the online stuff. I know a lot of us have to give in to that, because there is such a large demand for it. So I don't know. I feel like the balance is difficult, but it's getting better. So I'm excited.
Oh, well, I'm right there with you because I'm be honest, I'm an old school type of cat. So, I mean, face to face, I mean, with technology and everything from the virtual standpoint, but it's not the same as just doing face to face. I understand from that standpoint, but I look at it also as well because I'm going to say this, you're like a Jill of all trades, man. We're talking about MMA, we're talking about wrestling, boxing, bodyguard. I'm like, geez Louise, man, I feel safe around you. And that's the thing. I like that because you got everything that's incorporated with you. And I think that really shows your overall character and your being. Like, I like the bodyguard stuff. Like, god dang, man, I think that's very cool. And I also look at it from a stance like you have a lot to offer. And I got to say, I can't wait to see what the future holds for you.
Yeah, I do. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Also, I'm gonna ask you about the bodyguard thing for a second because I was not expecting that. Like I knew about the boxing and MMA, and I think which is great because it shows overall in your session work. But the bodyguard stuff, like that's badass.
Oh my gosh, it was the coolest fucking job ever. I loved it. It was so much fun. I got to do it for a couple years, and it was one of those things where I I was actually more or less undercover. I would end up being their assistant, or play their wife or their girlfriend or whatever, and I would end up having to hang out with these, diplomats, these international diplomats, and fly overseas and stuff, and literally be like right next to them, where we were going to galas and knighting ceremonies and all these weird things, events and stuff, and I would be armed to the T, and I'd be in an evening gown and you wouldn't even be able to tell. And I'd just be hanging out the whole night. So if anything were to go down, I would be the last resort. So there would be, we'd have at least 4 or 5 people with us in our in our in our group that we would have to travel with and such. And we just kind of moved around and did all kinds of stuff. And honestly, it was a fascinating job. It took me, it exposed me to a lot, and it was more like a True Lies kind of situation. Like that movie, I laugh every time I watch it, because I'm like, that's so funny how weird it is to think of all the stuff that you've already done, and all the stuff that you want to do or you're able to do later. That's why I'm excited for the travel to pick back up again, because I would love to travel more, and expose myself to different countries and environments where I was there at one point, but I was doing a different job. And then go back now and be able to actually do sessions and stuff is kind of weird to think about. But that job in itself was just fascinating, and it was very telling, and the experience was just so cool. Was so cool.
So I'm gonna say this, and I like how you mentioned True Lies, but I'm gonna go the other route here. So pretty much what you're saying is from the physical aspect and everything from the Bodyguard standpoint, you are kind of like the female Kevin Costner in the Bodyguard. It's what you are, kind of. You like the female Kevin Costner in a way.
Yes, I am. I would have been the female Kevin Costner in that, yes, in The Bodyguard. That's so funny. Yeah, that
Hey,
movie's funny to think about too.
I'm just saying because I mean, and that's what I appreciate. A lot of people just see, it's cool to have that, bouncer type guy, bodyguard. But what's really cool because listening to you tell your stories and the travel aspect, what's cool about it is you get to protect people and you keep us secure, and that takes a lot. It also takes a lot of discipline, and it showcases not just your talents, but your overall being and your spirit and that adrenaline rush of just going out there and just, providing that protection.
Well, and I found that it's such an important quality to be a chameleon to some degree. Being able to blend in really well if you absolutely need to, like having, being able to, start a conversation with anyone anywhere about anything and put them at ease is a quality that not very many people have, surprisingly. I feel like socially, my EQ is very high, and it's always been that way. And so I feel like I've had a lot of weird opportunities that are very high stress, in really difficult social situations where I have to be armed and know how to handle a situation where there is going to be a lot of conflict, or it is going to be very intense, or it is going to probably get out of hand. And being able to do that delicately and with the feminine feminine touch, I would say. Sometimes being able to diffuse the situation before anything actually goes down and I have to draw a weapon um, has happened more often than not. And I've always actually surprised myself in being able to handle that as well as I have, to where I haven't been injured in certain situations where I was able to, uh, diffuse the situation before things got out of hand. And a lot of that is a lot, people don't really think about that. They don't really understand all of that goes into the planning and um, just the just the trips in general, and the dangers that you end up facing on a regular basis. That I think, I don't know, I think it's no one really fully understands how the breakdown is for a lot of it. And I mean, I don't know. I could tell you stories all day of just weird close calls. And I mean, I have really weird stories. I've been shot at like over 23 times, and I've been stabbed like 5 different times. Like, it's been an insane, like, background of just experiences that you end up learning from differently every single time, because it just you don't really, people are unpredictable. You just don't really know what can happen. So you try to be as prepared as possible. But I mean, even then, like, you really don't know what people are going to do, especially when they're stressed and feel like they're being cornered to some degree. But I don't know. I've been able to surprise myself and get out of all kinds of weird situations that I'm like, wow, that was crazy. How did we do that?
You truly have like 9 lives because I'm listening to you talk.
Way more than nine.
Nine, yeah. You know what it is? It's just
Way
because
more
this.
than
Well, it's the stabbing. It's I've been shot at, and I'm just like Jesus. But at the end of the day, like you were talking about, making them comfortable, the accommodation, comfortability with your clients and stuff. But it's just like, God dang, man, like more than 9 lives. That's like 20 lives, maybe like 50 lives. Jesus.
I know. My ex-husband is like, I don't understand how you did any of the shit you did, because I met him and he's the one that asked me to stop. He was like, I really think it would be better and safer maybe if you didn't do this anymore. You know what's funny? The day I actually quit my bouncer job, I got shot at, and I was 4 months pregnant with my daughter. And that was the last day I was like, all right, I feel like this needs to be it. And my boss was like, listen, I'll be honest, the minute you told me you were pregnant, I really didn't want you working anymore. But as you were comfortable with it, I was comfortable with it. And I wasn't doing anything they actually had me in more of a manager type of role. So I wasn't out dealing, so much so with the physical throwing people out and everything. But there was a drive-by that night, and I instinctively jumped on one of my servers, my cocktail servers, and protected her. And after the car went by, we got up and I was checking her. I was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And she knew I was pregnant, and she was like, "Bitch, what do you mean if are you okay? Are you okay?" And I was checking me. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And I just kind of was shaking it off like, "Why would, yeah, I'm fine." And it just kind of hit me. Like it was just a big wave of, "Oh my gosh, you have a life in you right now. You can't be doing this shit right now." So that was the last night of my bouncing job. And yeah, that was crazy. It's, man, a series of stuff, just things, just I don't know. It's crazy though. That night in itself was really, really intense. But it kind of hits you, and you have to take a step back and kind of pace yourself and reevaluate everything. So I decided to take a break and pull back from a lot of the dangerous stuff. And then after I had my daughter, and I was kind of, I don't know, getting more physically fit to the point where I could start doing that work again. I did, but I ended up stopping then, and I stopped for a couple years before I got back into anything dangerous. But that was the last night I had to like call it. It's crazy. It's just people are so goofy, and I don't know. I feel like I'm constantly trying to do memorable things or incredible things or unbelievable things, because people remember unbelievable things. They
Yes.
remember those stories, and that resonates with so many different people. And I feel like you'll be more memorable if you do incredible and unbelievable things. And it's boring to do what everybody thinks you're going to do. I don't know. I like surprising people.
I like like your adaptation of just the element of surprise and the overall fact you have that air of mystique about you. But I also gotta say this first and foremost. That's like a sign right there. Like your last night, you get shot at. You're I
Right?
and it's one of those things I just gotta say. Like I'm just pitching like your friend, the cocktail waitress, and she's just like, are you? Am I okay? You're the one who's pregnant over here, like that, and you're
She
asking
was
if she's
so
okay.
upset with me. She was so mad at me. She was like, "I cannot believe you are still here." She was so mad at me. And I was like, "Tonight's my last night. Like, this was it. Like, I can't. I really can't." Like, I completely was just like, "No, no, you're right. I can't do this anymore." And it was like it hits you really hard, because I don't know. You think you're invincible, and you're not. You really are not. Um, you're not to the degree that you would hope that you can withstand all of this stress and stuff. And I don't know, I was young and thought I was tough, and I mean I was, but there is a point where it's like you don't need to do that anymore. Like you can take a step back and focus on your motherly duties or reprioritize stuff. And so yeah, it has to be your decision though. Like it definitely has to resonate with you, the timing of everything. And I don't know why it took that to kind of snap me into, "Back up, bitch, just take a giant step back, you're fine, you don't need to prove anything right now." So yeah, no, that was it was a fascinating time in my life. And then for it to come to a halt with a couple gunshots, I don't know. It definitely clicks.
Literally it clicks,
Like
what I'm saying? Literally it clicks. Oh my god. Okay. First and foremost. All right. Well, it's one of those things too. You're talking about back up, bitch. You're kind of like Fat Joe. You got to lean back, but don't do the rock away, man. Lean back on some of this stuff.
Exactly, no joke. Yes, it was. I had to snap my ass back into gear, and yeah, reevaluate everything. And oh yeah, all right, okay, I need to move this stuff around. I can't be doing this anymore. So yeah, it is. It was a weird time to have to jump back, but I mean, I don't know. being pregnant and being a mother was a very interesting experience, and still is. It's a learning experience. We're all all learning. So it's been great. She's amazing. She thinks I'm insane, but she is fascinated with how strong and cool her mom is. We're very close, so she thinks everything I do is nuts, but she thinks it's really, really, really fascinating. She'll ask me, I'll tell her all kinds of different stories, and or she'll be like, "Daddy told me that you know you did this, that, and the other. Is that true?" And I'm like, "Actually, yeah." And then I'll tell her a story, and she'll just be like, "What? What?" Yes,
I think
your mother was crazy and still is, I guess.
I'm gonna say, like, when people say like you're weird, but it's a good weird, I'm gonna flip the script on that. Like they say you're insane, like, but it's a good insane. And I think what's great about it is, no, it is because like you keep
Very
people.
entertaining.
It is, and you keep people on your toes, and you know what I'm saying. It's the stuff like that. It's just it's moments, and it's also moments. It can be scary ass moments, but it's moments, and I think you're doing a great job.
They are. They are. And essentially that's all we're trying to create are moments,
Yep.
moments that resonate with us, with other people. And that's kind of all we have at the end of the day are moments, as crazy or weird or odd or unbelievable or incredible. That's all we get. And I don't know. I value those so much because they keep me entertained and they keep me motivated to do more things and expose myself to different stuff so that I know what I'm capable of. I feel like I've thrown myself into all different kinds of scenarios on purpose just to see what that looks like, and I I don't know. It's very telling. It's really interesting to want to be able to put yourself in uncomfortable situations just to see how you handle it. Like um it's hard. It's very hard, but I don't think I would do it any other way.
And I think that's what a lot of people can resonate and generate, as we talked about in the beginning of the show, what type of person, what type of athlete you are. And I think as we're coming to a close on this interview, I'm going to say this right now. The overture is here. Anytime you want to come back on the show, Miss Hayes, for a round two, I'd love to have you. I really enjoyed talking today, given the insight on what you are as a person, what you are as an athlete. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, of course, me too. I really appreciate you having me on. And it is very nice to be able to talk about all of that. I think a lot of the fans, they don't really get to see us in this candid um, interview type atmosphere. So I appreciate being able to do these and get in front of more people and talk to more people that are in the industry and kind of know what's going on and know all the same people, and we can all kind of thrive together, and we just have so much in common that it is important to be able to do this right now.
Of course, and I think that's what I love about what I do as a podcaster and a content creator, give people the platform to tell their story, and you told your story beautifully, my friend. So I'm going to say this as well. I was like asking this question because there's a lot of great people like yourself in the sessions industry and a lot of females in many different combative natures from MMA, boxing, from sports to professional wrestling and all around. I include you in those sentiments because a lot of women are doing great things. The evolution of women in sports and just in general, the overall female athlete. So this is where I ask you, do you have any advice for any girl that wants to be getting to sessions like what you're doing, what so many great women are doing? Do you have any advice for those up and comers?
Um, I don't know about advice. I honestly, I feel like anyone who has a want to dominate in this realm, I would say make sure you know what your boundaries are. I feel like boundaries are such a important thing to figure out beforehand. I feel like a lot of us end up being thrown into it and we don't really have those worked out yet. So I think it's one of those things where as you go into it, as you get requests for sessions and as you figure out what those are, people are going to ask you to do all kinds of different things. And my advice would be don't be afraid to say no, because you don't have to say yes to everything. And if you are uncomfortable, you should not be sessioning with that person, or you shouldn't be in that position where you are feeling uncomfortable. You need to feel very comfortable. Your comfort level is as important as theirs is. And I go into each interview and each 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 instance or request with that in mind. I want to create a win-win for that person, regardless of what the request is. Keeping my boundaries intact is really important to me, as it should be for them as well. And being able to maintain that and create a win-win, and whether you need to negotiate back and forth for a little bit, don't be afraid to do that, because I feel like it's not a cut and dry yes or no kind of scenario. Like, everyone wants something different, but everyone's there for different reasons also. So I always like to over communicate, because my boundaries are important and so are theirs. And I feel like some of that may get lost in translation when you are trying to set a lot of this up. And I guess my advice would be, yeah, make sure you're sure about your boundaries, and your expectations for the session are made clear.
Beautifully said and 100% accurate. And I got to say, Miss Haze, keep doing what you're doing, and people check out what she's doing in the session wrestling world. I'm going to say this right now. I've been saving this for the end of the show. Watch her fuck some shit up is what she does, this dominating force over here. Miss Haze, this is where I step back. Chivalry is not dead, and ladies first. It's not just a Queen Latifah song. Please promote the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Session Girls, where everybody can find you on all platforms of social media. The floor is yours.
Yeah. I have, let's see, www.mizhaze.com is my website, and I would honestly throw you there first before I do all the other the other social media aspects. I really wish I was better at twittering. I'm not a good twitterer, twatter, whatever you want to call it. I do have an account, but I feel like my website is probably the easiest way to get a good feel for my expertise and what I can offer. And then everything else kind of transpires from there. But I am on all of the, my Instagram is Ms. Haze 5280. And then I'm trying to think what other, I've had to change some of them. But I guess the main one is the website, obviously. The best way to get a hold of me. And then I've got a live chat box on there. If you're on there and you're like, I need questions, I need to know this, that, and the other, you can chat me up if you need to on there. So if you need immediate assistance, I can assist if that is an issue. Otherwise, my email is Amazon Haze, AMAZONHAZE 5280, because I am located in the Mile High city of Denver, and I do travel a bunch, but I can offer sessions here in the Mile High city, and that's at Gmail. So Amazon Haze 5280 at gmail.com.
First and foremost, I like that. Repping the Mile High City. Yeah, just putting it out there. I like how you represent and you got the flow there. And also, I got to say this as well. Twitter or twatter. You tweet on Twitter.
I know, I'm not a twatter. Is that the worst? I hate it. I'm sorry. I know everyone is so much better at it than me. I do not do it as often as I should.
That's okay. Well, that's all right. I'll be honest with you. Everybody has their preferences in social media. You're twatterer, not tweeting on the Twitter and the twatter. Links to the website will be in the description. I'm going to say this right now. Ms. Haze, do you have any final words for your fans? I've been supporting you since day one. Do you have any final words to the fans of the session wrestling community?
You know what? Stay strong. It's just gonna get stronger and more competitive, and there are gonna be so many leaps and bounds, I think, over this next year, once everyone is trying to get back to normal. So I feel like the fans are going to see a lot of great content come out of this next year. They're going to get a lot more exposure to a lot more different things, because a lot of the ladies are, we're all in this really cool space where we want to do new stuff. We want to do better, cooler, more inventive and creative things. So I feel like this next year, because all of us have this weird cabin fever. We have a lot of really cool things in the works, as far as traveling and just overall content collaboration type of events and things that I think a lot of us are trying to get creative about creating for our clients and the session fans in general. So I'm hoping this next year is as cool as we're planning on it being.
And please check out Amazon. Haze, check out Miss Haze, check out everybody in the session wrestling community. Guys, thank you for listening to another edition of On the Mic with Mike. For Miss Haze, my name is Mike Larkin. Thank you so much for listening. And my last words are beauty, strength, and dominance, the three key elements that make women the work of art that they are. And Miss Haze, I include you in those sentiments. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me, Mike.